sound, got everything going on. Alright, so I'm going to be flying solo here again tonight because Mrs. is back at work. She's gone stir crazy, and now that we're not caring for her mum anymore, she's like, I'm so keen to actually leave the house sometimes. Probably get away from me, right? No. So I've got to learn how to coordinate everything sort of solo, which is a little bit of a clusterfuck, but you know, bear with me. We had some dramas last night on the stream. Well, not last night, but the last time I went live. Christine was cooking and our oven's shit itself, and the oven isn't actually working, but the grill is. So you can turn the grill element on and just use it for that. And well, that's what she'd been doing for a little while, but that's also shorting it out now. The whole thing needs to be ripped out. The problem is the house is about 25 years old, right? So a lot of the appliances and fittings all need to be redone and fucking replaced. So it's really annoying. But I told her, don't fucking use that anymore. We got an air fryer and shit like that. We shouldn't need to even bother with the oven, in my opinion. Anyway, alright, so look, let's get stuck right into tonight's build. So we're going to be building a Ryzen 9 7950X system with an RTX 4080 Super. So a pretty top spec PC. Could get slightly higher spec, but you'd spend, you know, another $1,200 or $1,300 more than this rig to get anywhere near that. So, you know, just to sort of put it in perspective, 4080 Super is what you go for if you want sort of top performance, but you're not willing to pay, you know, 3,200 Aussie dollars for an RTX 4090. It gives you really good performance, and it's even better price to performance than a 4090. So definitely check that one out before you drop the money on a 4090. Go and do a bit of research and see what the difference is in the games that you like to play between a 4080 Super and a 4090, and tell me if that's worth the $1,300 to $1,500 more just for the graphics card. You know, in a lot of cases, you're spending nearly fucking 100% more. You know, that's ridiculous in a lot of cases, because I'll tell you, in general, the difference between a 4080 Super and a 4090, it's about 25% more performance than a 4080 Super, but then it, like I said, it goes up well over $1,000 for that privilege. So, you know, you do the math on that. I'll leave that up to you, but this is generally the smart option to go with. If money's no option, obviously you get money's no object, I should say. You get the 4090. But if you're sort of trying to unlock some better performance at a lower cost, this is your guy right here. Alright, so I'm going to stop rambling and let's get stuck into the specs. So we've got a Ryzen 9 7950X 16 core 32 thread CPU. We've got the Asus X670p Wi-Fi motherboard. We have a Crucial P3 1TB NVMe SSD. We got a kit of Corsair Vengeance 6000 MHz CL36 memory. We have our PNY RTX 4080 Super. What do they call this one? Doesn't even have a designated name. I think maybe it is the LXR gaming model. So it's got that right up in the corner there. You can barely see it there. it's the same price as the one without the RGB on it. So we just went and picked that one up instead. We got an extra Corsair fan here. We have a Corsair RM1000E power supply there. It's an ATX 3 power supply, so compatible with our card there. We've got a Corsair H100 RGB cooler. And we have the Corsair 4000X case. So this is going to be a tight fit. I hope I'm not out by a millimeter or something here, because we're going to need every millimeter we can get. This is quite a nice looking case, but it is slightly problematic in terms of building in it. It's got some really awkward dimensions. You can't mount your radiator up top unless you don't want to plug any fans into your radiator. Like, there's not a lot of clearance there at the top, so you have to mount your radiator to the front. But then by mounting your radiator to the front in this sort of smallish ATX form factor case, you don't have much room to play with there at the front. Our card's 40 millimeters, and with the radiator and the fans, we're talking the exact same millimeters. So let's hope we don't have to do anything drastic like replace the front fans with low profile fans or something like that. That'd be a pain. Anyway, all right. Background noise. Yeah, mate, I'm sorry, at the moment it's fucking really, really hot. This area has no airflow. Let me see if I can make it a little bit better. You'll have to bear with me with the fan. We got Angel here. I have a B450 motherboard with a Ryzen 7 2700X. Do you have any suggestions for what CPU I should upgrade to, and which GPU should I pair with it? Honestly, dude, Ryzen 2700X. That would be with like the 400 series motherboards from AMD. I would personally recommend selling your CPU, motherboard, and RAM, and getting a AM5 platform. It'll cost a little bit more, but it will sort of, it'll see you into the future. I hate using the term future-proof, but it'll be the platform that you're on now with the 2700X. It's aging, if you know what I mean. So probably best to try to sell that now before it loses more value, and then put that into something new. And if you can't afford the AM5 platform, at least go with a 500 series motherboard and something like the 5700X3D CPU is pretty good for AM4 price to performance. So check that one out if you're on a bit of a budget. And then, yeah, I mean, did you say what graphics card you currently have? No, sorry, I'm having trouble reading it. It's very small. I'll make it bigger, but it distorts everything. Alright, so look, let's have a look at the motherboard. So this is our board here, the Asus X670-P Wi-Fi. Alright. So, lots of silver on this board. So, look, let's start up at the top corner there. So, we've got 12 pins of CPU power. We've got these nice direct touch heat sinks there on the MOSFET VRM co-processors. Obviously our AM5 socket there in the middle. We have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fan headers on this board. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 RGB headers, 2 5 volt and 2 12 volt. We have 2 USB 3 headers. We have this USB-C there, obviously dual channel memory across 4 slots, and our ATX power there for the motherboard. We have a total of 6 SATA ports there, so 2 horizontally orientated and 4 vertically down the bottom. We have, oh, there's actually an extra 12 volt RGB header on there. That's kind of weird. So there's 3 12 volt and 2 5 volt. We've got our front panel connectors there, plus our speaker, 2 USB 2s, a COM port, a clear CMOS header, SPI-DIF header, a front panel audio. Just got those little audio capacitors there down in the bottom left hand corner. So in the middle here we've got 3 M2 slots, 1, 2 and 3. This looks like it should be another M2 slot, but I don't believe it is. I believe it's just a heatsink there over the chipset, etc. We've got a PCIe X16 and 2 X4 slots down here, a little X1 slot there as well. And then around the back here, we've got our Wi-Fi 6E Bluetooth 5.2 audio outputs. We've got 2.5 gigabit LAN, a total of 8 USB ports, including 1 Type-C or USB 3.2 and above. We have 2 display outputs, plus we have 2 USB 2s there on the end. So, happy days. A pretty good motherboard. Mad Warrior says, hey, what's up? Hey, Mad Warrior. How you going? Good to have you with us, as always. You all know my face, but I don't know your face. You know, it's a little bit strange, right? I know your name, but I don't know your face. I could walk by you in the street and you wouldn't have any idea. I wouldn't have any idea it's you, but you could possibly recognize me. That's kind of strange. I was never meant to be like a celebrity. I'm not saying I'm like a serious celebrity. I'm just saying I'm not. You know, normally, if I know someone, they know me, and people who I don't know, don't know me. Alrighty, so there's our CPU. So, we had a dead CPU the other night. Couldn't fucking believe it, right? Dead CPU? That's not meant to happen. No, CPUs have probably the lowest failure rate of any PC component. So whenever you go to return a CPU that's faulty, you get some looks, right? Like wherever you bought it from, they're just like, are you serious? Dead CPU, blah 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 blah. And I get it, because it's very, very rare, but it has happened. But in my whole life, I've only had probably 3 dead CPUs that were like brand new CPUs that were like dead on arrival. One it was actually the CPU got through everything, tested perfectly, did the stress test, no dramas, packed it up, shipped it to the customer. He set it up, he turned it on, and he downloaded his games, and he had one game in Call of Duty or something, I think was his game. And he was like, oh, his wife said, oh, dinner's ready. He's like, oh, okay, I'll exit out. And he's like, oh, I'll shut it down, you know, like, so it doesn't like waste power or whatever. He was just like, oh, I'll shut it down while I'm not using it, and I'll come back to it later. As soon as he came back to it, wouldn't turn on, wouldn't display anything. I actually spent half an hour on the phone with the guy, trying to work out what the problem was, because You know, it was pretty weird because I'd tested everything and it was working fine. And yeah, we couldn't work out what the problem was. And I he was up at Bundaberg, and I called around to a few PC shops, and I found a guy who was, you know, a reasonable and honest guy, it would seem, by my assessment anyway. And I organised him to bring it in, the customer to bring it into this PC shop locally, to get him to diagnose it and stuff for me. And he's like, yeah mate, we were talking about it, we're like, it's probably a power supply issue, or maybe the RAM's dead. Yeah, we're thinking, we're both speaking the same language, and we're both like, okay, brand new PC, all brand new parts, what's most likely to fail on it? And it was power supply, motherboard, and RAM, which, you know, typically they're the things that'll fail prematurely. And yeah, he called me back and he's like, mate, you're not going to fucking believe this. He's like, you got a dead 7800X. This is like when they were new released and stuff. He's like, this is brand new. He's like, I wouldn't believe it. I tried it in a third motherboard because I just didn't believe that it was actually dead. And this is the other PC shop in Bundaberg, right? And that gives you a bit of an idea as to how rare a dead CPU actually is. So what have we got here? We've got a total of 3 slots here for the M2s. I'll go ahead and install the offsets here. So when you install your offsets, just to go through it like step by step here, you should tighten them with a screwdriver. You should get this little nut with your motherboard there. It'll fit around some of the bolts. And just make sure, don't over tighten it, but just make sure it's nice and firm there. You want this to be slightly tighter than the bolt that you tighten into it, because you don't want to get it stuck with the SSD in the slot, and then the offset and the screw holding together, because, you know, the screw was done up more than the bit at the bottom. You don't want to go through that. It's a pain in the ass. Alright, so this bottom slot and the top slot there are probably going to be accessible. So what we'll do is we'll chuck our SSD here in this one here. Crucial P3 is pretty well behaved. Yeah. And you don't have to, that screw there, you don't have to frickin' force that screw down. It's just got to hold in this. Just, you know, a very small amount of tension there is all you really need. That one on the bottom there should be a lot firmer, but that screw there shouldn't need to be that tight. So, alrighty. What do we got? AM5's pretty expensive. Be able to afford one the next 3 years, but sadly stuck on AM4. And I have an Asus B550 Prime. If you've got the B550, then consider the 5700 X3D. That X3D, having that extra cache on the CPU, that makes a big difference, man. Those CPUs perform a lot better than the non-X3D variants, and they work really well with modern graphics cards to get extra performance out of the graphics card. You can't really argue with the facts on this one. So at least you already have an AMD platform. You're not like on a like an early Intel platform and trying to get a good CPU for that, because Yeah, the only problem is if with a 400 series motherboard B450, if you plug the new 5700X 3D on it, that board's probably not the best choice for it. It might work fine, but there might be some issues there. I don't want to recommend it to you. You know, have my head on a freaking platter. Alright. Okay. So we got our RAM, we got our CPU, we've got our SSD. Hang on, just before I get too much further, let me keep up with the comments. Random Ginger Gamer 2.0 says, I just put some new RAM and a new CPU in my PC last week. Went from an AMD Ryzen 5 3600 to a Ryzen 7 5700X. Much better. Yep, definitely. Aaron says, hey mate, how's it going? Got my fingers and toes crossed that it all fits in the case. Yes, so do I. I mean, the measurements technically check out, but I'm always nervous when it's a little bit close. If not, we'll get some low profile fans for the front there. It's no big deal. Alright, so Corsair, what have we got for this particular cooler? So oh yep, no, we're not, obviously with that style bracket, we're not using the standard mounting bracket that comes with the motherboard. What have we got here? These are our AMD AM4, there's nothing different. AMD AM4 is the same dimensions as AM5. Okay, sweet. Where's my frickin' screwdriver? So I'll give you this bracket. Sometimes I forget to give them to people, but yeah, if anyone needs one, I've got a million of them. So don't worry about that. But if you change your cooler in the future, you may need the standard bracket there. So our Corsair cooler has pre-applied thermal compound, so you don't have to apply anything. One of the questions I get with regards to thermal compound, is the stuff that's on it all right, or do I need to go with some other kind of thermal paste? And the answer is the stuff that's on it is completely fine. Okay, unless you want to just spend a heap of money extra for like to make it say like 1 degree colder, you know, while you're running it. You know, it doesn't make a huge difference. You buy some really high performance stuff, you might get like 2 degrees or so difference. It's not a big deal, basically. People think that, you know, it'll make a huge difference. They think that'll, you know, frickin' all of a sudden their CPU that runs at fucking 85 degrees under load, they think that, oh, magically it's just going to start running 20 degrees cooler because we use the special thermal paste. It's like you're putting a lot of hope there on the thermal grease, you know, like you're expecting the little guy to do a lot of heavy lifting there, if you know what I mean. You know, he's just thermal grease. There's only sort of so much performance you can get without, you know, soldering fucking metal together and shit like that. So yeah, just be aware. Thermal paste's excellent stuff. It lasts for fucking years, provided you do it properly initially. Sometimes it can die prematurely. I won't deny that. But as a general rule, as someone who builds PCs and handles people's PC warranties, has a pretty low failure rate. All right. Okay, so basically, our radiator is going to be front mounted here, so we're not actually going to put any fans on it, because the fans we're going to use are in the front of the case. The fans that come with it, as well as this one here, are going to go on the top and the back. So we do have some fans to install there, but just not in the usual places. Because with this particular case, the Corsair 4000X, if you want to mount a radiator, you have to mount it to the front. If you mount it to the front, you can't fit the biggest graphics cards in here. This one here is 2 centimeters smaller than the biggest one, which is about the size of this radiator. So I should be able to get that radiator in and that graphics card, but they're going to be pretty much touching each other. So I mean, airflow wise, it shouldn't matter. I don't think Aaron's going to be attempting any overclock world records on his 7950X. Sorry, 7950X. I thought I said X3D there for a second. And so I couldn't get the exact style fan that came with the cooler. Corsair have released their revision fans. So this is their new model here. So we're going to put this new model one on the back, and then these ones here are the same as the fans that are pre-installed in the case. They're the ones that come with the cooler there. So alright, happy days. We'll turn our attention now to the case. Get the graphics card out of the way. What do we got in the comments there? Nothing new. Got the CPU for 240 and was 460. Sweet as. So random gamer, just so we're all aware on the currency, that's Australian dollars. It sounds like to me. Oh. Ugh. Okay. I was looking and I'm like, is this not ATX 3? It is. It just has, it's just got the regular 8-pin PCIe connection on the power supply side. Alrighty. Alright, so this is one of those top tier power supplies. I don't need that cable. I do need this cable. Now just remember when you're looking at power supplies and stuff like that, a power supply, putting a bigger power supply in your PC doesn't make your PC more powerful. as counterintuitive as that might seem, your components only draw a maximum amount of power each. So you can plug a massive power supply into it, but if your computer's, you know, like a dumpster fire, it's not gonna make any difference, right? And so here, 850 to 1000 watt is pretty much where you want to be for this PC spec. Though, if you knew that you were gonna, you know, not draw that much power from it, you could probably get away with a 750. It'd just be, you know, under load, that 750 watt would be, you know, freaking, what's the word? Going flat out, basically, when it was under load. Oh shit, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. See, this is the dangers of flying solo with anything live, right? I got my mind on something else, and yeah, you know, I'm a human just like everybody else. I'm fallible. I make mistakes. Okay, so that's our prepped power supply there. So 2 CPU cables, our motherboard cable, a SATA cable, and our PCIe cable, the 12 plus 4 pin cable. Because yeah, you want to make sure ATX 3. You want to make sure you have an ATX 3 power supply if you're running a 40 series graphics card that has the 12 plus 4 pin connector. Because if you don't have an ATX 3, you will have to use the adapter cable, which kind of looks a bit sketchy and is a bit sketchy if you don't plug it in just right. But fear not, you can buy power supplies that have a cable, just a nice neat cable. Where are you? Just like that. Nothing else has to plug into it. It just plugs directly into your power supply and plugs directly into a graphics card. It's like it's not even there at all, but this baby here can deliver more power than 3 of the standard 6 plus 2 pin cables that are on your graphics card if you've got like a 30 series graphics card or something. So let me have a quick look at the comments there. Angel asks, is it hard switching out CPU and is it hard switching out power supply? I was thinking of upgrading my GPU to an RX 6700 XT, but my power supply is only 600 watts. Will that be okay? Yeah, it should be fine. 7600 XT wouldn't draw more than 200 watts. Go to www.outervision.com and use their power supply calculator, or just Google search Outervision power supply calculator. Key in all of your specs to that, and then I generally go 10% more than their recommended level. So it just gives you a bit of a buffer. Generally means your power supply runs a little bit more efficiently, a little bit cooler, and will last a little bit longer. So, alright, moving on, we got fans to deal with here. So just be aware, if you're buying Corsair fans and stuff like that, you do need the controllers and everything like that to go with them. And Corsair have got some super premium fans and stuff like that, stuff like Leon Lee does. Well, at least they compete with Leon Lee with their products. They don't have the infinity mirror fans and stuff, but they've got some pretty cool stuff. They got good software to do basically whatever the fuck you want with the lighting. Like some of their last generation shit. I'll give you a bit of an idea. So their last generation shit, they had fans that had, what was it? I think it was a total of 24 individual LEDs in each RGB fan, and each of those 24 LEDs you can address at the same time. Or is it 16? I might have the number wrong there. But either way, that many, 16 or 24, whatever it ends up being, in one fan. And you can have each of those, you can individually address each LED in those fans. So you can make your own, like, super complicated custom color scheme with Corsair. So my wife has that for her PC. She's got all Corsair fans and peripherals. The only thing she's got in there that's not Corsair is the strimmers. Oh, and her cooler's not Corsair either. That's because it died, and we just decided to chuck in one of these coolers. It's got all Corsair fans and stuff connected to it. Okay. So like I said, these fans here, these are the fans that came with our cooler, but they're going to be mounted to the top of our case. Because yeah, we don't have any freaking room to spare. All right. So we do need to install our rear I/O shield. Well, we don't have to, but it looks better if we do. This doesn't provide any support to your USB connectors or anything like that. There you go. Just be really careful on them because you can quite easily slice yourself. Okay. Okay, so for our next bit here, we're going to remove this glass panel here at the front. Okay, so basically what we've got to do here is we've got to swap the screws out on a couple of these front fans because they need to be replaced with the radiator screws. So I'll just unscrew this fan here in the middle. It's got a smaller distance to fall down. Alrighty, and then and so yeah, once you get a couple of the bolts in, two opposite corners ideally, it's really easy to get the rest in. So we can even start to replace the top fan there. It's all secured now, nothing's going to fall away. Okay, and so the bottom fan there, that doesn't have to be changed because we just got a 240mm radiator. Okay. Alright, so our CPU cable. So we got so we'll make a 12-pin cable here. So we'll just separate the second cable there. It splits in half. Okay, there's our CPU cable. Okay, so what have we got around the back here? So we've got an included Corsair controller here. So, problem is, we have 7 devices. What the fuck are we gonna do here? Oh no! Oh no! Okay, so all of our RGB is all hooked up through that controller there. So the only problem is we don't have another freaking controller. What are we going to do? I don't know, man. Maybe here at Tim's PC we've got spare Corsair controllers. No added charge. I come prepared. Alright, we get a little bit of sticky here so we can mount it in the case. Okay, so basically that controller there has all fans, and this controller here just has the RGB for the radiator pump. Very good, so it'll just stick on right there. How's that? Alrighty, now okay, so we got 6 fan cables there that we need to hook up. Have our pals at Corsair given us a fan splitter? Nope, no fan splitter. if I need a second one. There we go. Just fed that fan cable around the back there. That there, that is our little secret, alright? Awesome. So I got all our fans plugged in. We needed one splitter for it. Fortunately we had one that came with the motherboard, so I didn't need the backup one because I was able to feed that cable behind the heatsink there on the MOSFET. Okay. Beauty. Alright, so not much more to go now. Oh, really? Okay, reset switch, power switch, and power LEDs. Okay, alright, moment of truth. Man, this is going to be tight. If you're a deviant, tell me what this is going to be tighter than. Dirtiest answer wins. This is a big triple slot sucker. Look at the size of this thing. Oh, look at that. That wasn't even scary. Ladios is here. Hey Ladios, how you going? Good to have you with us as always. And Tantoom, hey man, how you going? Yeah, good. How are you? Alrighty, have a look at that. See, I was okay. That wasn't too bad. I always leave myself a buffer when I measure it out, but it still doesn't make me any less nervous. Measurements can be wrong. I've seen it before. I've seen some things, man, and some stuff. I wouldn't recommend it. Which way are we go with this? Probably from the bottom, just because it's really busy up top. Oh, it's just tight everywhere. I think we'll stick that up top. Cool. Now, this case is typically a bit tight out the back here, but if you put everything in just the right place, it'll go on nice and easy, just like that. Okay, so there's our rig. 7950X RTX 4080 Super. So little bit of a weapon, low-key weapon. No fucking $7,000 absolute fuck off rig, but a sensible high performance rig, like I said. Because this is the thing about the top end, right? You know, by the time you're running everything at freaking hundreds of frames per second, what difference does fucking 10 or 20% really make once you're already at a certain level, right? You know, like you like, seriously guys, do you think that your eyes can see 360 hertz? Do you think your eyes see and your brain can handle 360 frames per second? Because that's not what your eyes see in. The average human can't reliably tell the difference between like 140 hertz and 240 hertz. They've done studies on this where they get people to like guess two different screens running at different resolutions, and they're told one screen's this resolution, one screen's that resolution. Pick which one is which. And they do this, they do double-blind tests and stuff like that, and that's what they found, is that beyond about 140, maybe 160, most people can't see. And the people who can see, it's a tiny, it's like a 0.1% of the population or less can actually see beyond that. That's why when you see Asus with their 480 hertz monitor, you can just like laugh at them, because I mean, the ROG fanboys are gonna buy it, right? Like, that's the thing. That was pretty pain-free. I like it when it's pain-free. All right. Now, I've had so many dead on arrival parts in the last week that I'm pretty confident that this one will be all good. So I'm not a betting man, so, you know, maybe I'd bet $1 that this will be all good here tonight. Oh. All right. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Bloody hell. Ray says, yo, how you going, Ray? Random user says, I just built my new PC about 2 weeks ago. I went from a Ryzen 3600 paired with a 5700 XT to a Ryzen 7800X 3D with a 4080 Super. Very happy with the upgrade. Oh man, apples and oranges. You've gone from like mid-range or lower mid-range to something, you know, high end. Okay, so let's just move over to the PC view there. So as we can see, we've posted. Sweet as. Okay, so we've got a new BIOS for it there, so we'll go and update it. Don't worry about that. It restarts when you do this particular BIOS update. Alright, so everything's looking pretty good there. Sweet. So XMP is saved in there properly. Hello? John's Shine says, "Hey Tim, what should I do if my PC doesn't turn on?" Well, are you prepared to do hardware diagnosis? Do you have spare parts to work out what the problem is? Because if you don't, you're gonna have to take it to someone who does. Enable resize bar, basically free FPS by optimizing your PCIe to access your VRAM from your GPU. Increases FPS 10 to 20 FPS versus when disabled. I'm pretty sure it's on by default with an X670 board, but even if it's not, we had a 4080 Super 16 gigabyte. I don't think there's going to be any shortage of VRAM. So maybe if Aaron wants to optimize it, but I'm not going to bother with that. Like I said, I'm pretty sure with this board it's on by default. It has a bigger effect with cards that don't have as much VRAM, basically. Once you have enough VRAM, the effect of doing that is less. So that would work really well if you have like an RTX 4060 or a 4060 Ti with 8 gig of VRAM, or something else with 8 gig of VRAM. You'll probably optimize that in some games in this day and age, just because, yeah, games are starting to use a little bit more VRAM than they used to. So but yeah, 4080 Super fucking smashes everything. Like, why am I on a blank Windows screen? I can tell it's a Windows screen because I have a cursor there. Okay, so we'll get everything going on. And we'll run some gaming benchmarks on it. speaking of resize bar, my most popular video on my YouTube channel is how to activate resize bar and allocate more RAM as VRAM for the Ryzen 5600G APU. Alright, so I always put down some custom desktop icons. You can make these yourself. Just create a new folder and then change the icon. Just go into properties and you'll find that function. I just like doing this because it keeps my desktop relatively organized, because I like to sort of, a lot of things just show up on your desktop all the time, little extra icons and crap, and it's pretty annoying. Oh, it doesn't want to install without internet. Okay. Okay. Alright, so we're nearly done with our offline installation stuff. Come on, superposition. restart, and we'll plug in a LAN cable now. Got all our drivers and stuff installed, so that'll work. Oh, it's not plugged in all the way. Alright, so yeah, we'll just get MSI Afterburner and Reaper Tuner installed, and that's pretty much it. Ryzen Master's just a nice to have, probably never use it, but alright, so we need a few things from in there. Okay, so MSI Afterburner and Reaver tuners installed now, so alright, so this stuff here is what we want to see in our on-screen display. Alright, so we've got 32 CPUs there because it's one for each thread. The one without a number is just overall. And set our toggle keys. And we'll make our text a bit bigger. Alright, so while we wait for that, I'm going to go and run Heaven here. High, no anti-aliasing. And so all this stuff on the screen, so we've got GPU 1 there in green, that's our graphics card. Temperature, usage, clock speed and wattage. Mem 1 there, that's the VRAM on the graphics card. It's clock speed, oh it doesn't have the usage up there. CPU, we've got our temperature, usage, clock speed and wattage. We've got our RAM usage there, and this number here below RAM, that's how many frames per second it's currently running at. Oops, sorry about that. Oh. Okay, so if you keep seeing that particular error there that comes up, that can be a RAM problem. However, if it just happens once, not a big deal. Sweet. Okay. Alright, so let's run this one again. Armory crate installed. That's good. Oh. $82C is about right for a 7950X when it's running like this. See the usage? Only sitting there at like 8%. So when the usage is low, it'll draw a lot of power through there to optimize the optimize what it's doing essentially. Because if it tried to run as much power through it, like at a higher, it would have to like cut the power, like thermal throttle, essentially. But yeah, like I said, 70, 70s, 80s, that's pretty normal for 79 or any of the Ryzen 7000X CPUs. So okay, that's done. Valley. So Valley's more demanding and we're going to run it on higher settings. So yeah, see, like, we're essentially running at 5%, and there's like 85 watts running through. So if that CPU is 100%, that would be running 20 times faster. Now, you could, sorry, not 20 times faster, but you're talking 20%, 20 times. 20 times more usage on the CPU, and the key factor to consider is the watts versus the usage. So if we're at 100% usage on the CPU, our wattage with this chip would be around the 170s, maybe 180s, depends what benchmark and stress test you run on it, and that will be actually a lower watt per usage, essentially. Ah, yes, I remember you. You're the one who's from Netherlands, and you have an outdoor like radiator or something like that. You've got like basically an open loop water cool setup, and you have the reservoir or something outside because it gets like nice and chilly there overnight. That's a pretty cool idea. Not much point in my part of the world, though. In winter, yeah, it gets cold here in winter. Alright, so that's Valley there. How's everything else going? No secondary SSD or anything like that. Alright, we'll do superposition now. 4K optimized. Oh, yeah. I mean, when it comes to pumps, like liquid pumps. Oh, what's happened here? Benchmark crashed. Okay. Yeah, with liquid pumps, there is a principle called head, how much head the pump has, and it's basically how high you can pump water before gravity overwhelms the pumping capability of the pump. So basically, you'll get a figure, like say if you buy a water transfer pump, like a high volume water transfer pump, like maybe a firefighting pump or whatever. Those sort of pumps will have a rating of like, oh, this pump here has 30 meters of head, and that would mean that you could have a pipe going 30 meters up in the air, and that pump would be pumping water all the way up, and it would be coming out the top. So you'd have to get a pretty serious pump for that. What has happened there? It seems like we're having a few stability issues here. I mean, we'll know for sure once we stress test it. A little bit concerning that it crashed once and then it seemingly restarted on me, but that could have been Windows Update fucking being stupid. Alrighty. Well, there it ran through fine. Alright, let's have a quick look at IQ. Sweet. Okay, so we can go ahead and restart that now. No, the boot time is just sometimes sometimes the card has a bit of a spac running through the capture card, either the motherboard or the graphics card. Most probably the graphics card has a little bit of a spac. It does happen sometimes. Alright. Alright, so we're at the end of the night now. Oh. Okay. So firmmark here, 1080. There we go, and Cinebench. So we set this up for a 90-minute run. Okay. And so basically we just let it run here, monitor our temperatures over the next 90 minutes. And so yeah, I mean, from here it's pretty easy. This is a thermals and stability test. So we just let this one run for a while and make sure everything's performing as expected. And if it is, then the customer can go pick it up. So, happy days. Okay, so alright. So how's that look? You can see the reflection of Christine's Corsair QL fans in the glass. But yes, that looks sick. And it's nice to have all your RGB from one company. Alright. Well, look, if anyone's got any other final questions for me before I sign off, now's your time to ask. I'm getting tired. It's past my bedtime. No, I couldn't tell you anything specific about 24H2. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm running it on my personal rig. I haven't noticed anything different about it. But then again, I'm not really going out of my way looking for differences or anything like that. Sweet as. Well, that'll probably be it for tonight, because I'm getting really tired. So, thanks everyone for watching. Be sure to smack that like button, hit subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next video.